Good evening, Stampers. It is 7:30 on a Thursday evening. In case you don't know who I am, and I'm like actually kind of talking to a camera, as weird as that sounds, I'm Wendy Fee from Wendy's Little Inklings in North Whitby, Ontario, Canada. And tonight we're going to make this guy. So, as you know, I don't generally like to make projects from scratch online just because I find that it takes a lot of time. And I don't like to waste people's time when I'm doing things like this live and on camera, but I am going to show you this from start to finish tonight simply because there's a lot going on, but it's more, I just don't want to make more than one card this time. So we've got this guy here. He's really glimmery and very different actually from a different card that I have is sitting upstairs on the dining room table, but we're just going to focus on this one tonight. Like I said, it's very glimmery. It uses glimmer paper, so it's kind of got that nice sheen. And we're going to start with that. So I have here, just to show you, an entire sheet of the rainbow glimmer paper. So you can kind of see, I'm looking at it from on my poor little camera. So it goes from kind of light to dark into the center. So that's Mango Melody. This is the Magenta Madness, that super bright pink. This is Blackberry Bliss. You've got some Bermuda Bay and you've got some Granny Apple Green. So it does come in 12 by 12 sheets, and it does look like this if you've got it kind of like on the vertical angle. What I did for this particular card, and the other one actually, is I took it and I cut it down to, a 12 by 4 inch strip. Because if you do 4 inches this way, then you will end up with a total of 6 of these. Okay. Now the other thing is that when I cut this one apart, I actually have it so that it is cut down, right, pretty much dead center. Like I cut it at 6 inches. And then when I went to make the card, I found that it was really dark on one end, like really bright on this side. So I actually cut an extra little section off. I thought I had it here. Yes. There it is. It looked like that originally. So I wanted to have a little more of the purple than the green. So I cut the extra half an inch off of the green side. So I'm going to keep this though, because it's a nice little piece of Granny Apple Green, and I hate throwing away things that I think have value to them, because I would totally put this on something else, especially because I now have 2 of them. So the other half of this, which is that other card, the mystery card that I'm not bringing out tonight, just because I'm going to write a tutorial for it. When I cut that one down, it's actually a rectangle within, it's one of the stitch rectangles, so I didn't really cut it down, but it has more of that side off than the other because I wanted it to be a little more even. But yes, so when you cut this, you want to make sure you cut it in 4-inch strips, and then you cut it in the center and do whatever you want with it, and you end up with these lovely pieces of glimmer paper. This kind of looks, it kind of looks like it's really fine glitter that's been embedded into the paper. It's not like the really thick stuff that we've had before that when you touch it, it kind of rubs off, but it is a thick paper. And the one thing about these kinds of paper, whenever you're using them, is that if you cut too often on the top where the glitter is, it will eventually dull your blade. So you do want to make sure that you're cutting with the back, right? So on the back side, and that way it'll help your blades. Even if you're die cutting, if you know that it's something where you just want to shape and it's like a regular piece of paper, you could just cut it from the back, and then you're not going to worry about your dies. So for tonight, we've got this guy here. Okay, I think that's enough but glimmer paper for now. Oh, Rachel, I hope we can be in person soon too. We were, tonight actually, after I'm finished this, Colleen and I have a call where we're going to talk about where we're going to try and find space to have our live event, because we got shut down on location number 1 today. So we're looking. Okay, so we have this lovely card here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to take this and we're going to emboss this with white embossing powder. So the stamp that we have is the really big Butterfly Brilliance. And as you know, it's like all one stamp. I put it onto a block. It's kind of nice because it's a huge background stamp, and it's going to cover this, but it's not going to cover it, right? It's going to cover it, but you're still going to see all kinds of the glimmer and behind it. So it's kind of a focal point and kind of not. So to do that, I need, where'd I put it? Where's my Versamark ink? There it is. I have my Versamark ink. Whenever we have large stamps like this, I always highly recommend that you ink them from the top, because then you can see exactly where the ink goes and you have much greater control over how much is put on, and you're less likely to get ink around the edges because you're not tossing and turning and flipping the stamp around all that much. Okay. You can do this on a Stamparatus. I, for the purpose of what we're doing tonight, just decided to do it like this. I'm gonna kind of line it up, and I'm gonna sort of, I just wanna make sure the butterflies are all off the edges. All right, I'm gonna give it a nice squish, big super squish. Back when we used to have the wooden blocks on these things, on these huge ones, there were stories going around, and I don't ever remember trying this, but people would sit on their stamps. They would like sit on them on a chair or something to get that really nice image. I never went down that road. Okay, so we've got that. You clearly cannot see any Versamark on there, and that's okay. I have some white embossing powder and one of our old-fashioned embossing powder trays, which I really wish they would bring back. Okay, so I'm just gonna spread this all over top. Because we don't have the trays anymore, you can use a piece of paper, like a larger piece of paper. I actually saw very recently, a couple days ago, somebody had said you can take like a paper plate, not a Chinette one, but one of the other ones, the ones that are not quite, they're a little flimsier, I guess, and you can do it on there, and then you can, oh, I keep taking it off. You can just like fold it in half and get it back into your container. Okay, have I got it all there? Yeah. If you get a little bit of extra powder, you're never gonna see it on this card. Okay, so I'm gonna just take that, I'm gonna put that over there. And then I'm going to, look at this, seriously, I'm like ready to go tonight. I actually tried to make sure I didn't forget anything. So let me just emboss this really quickly. You can see, or you will be able to see in a second, I can see when it'll start to turn. Okay. All right, so we're just getting it. Rachel, it's not a question of, it's not so much a question of location, it's a question of what's open and what is people's comfort level, what is the comfort level of the venue. So I will certainly contact you about possible locations since you may have somebody, but the churches that we have been contacting, they're not necessarily willing to let people in yet, which is the problem that we're running into. So we are trying to see whether we can find some other ideas, like maybe Legion locations. The golf club we used to host these at, last time we called them a couple of years ago, they wanted $1,500 for an afternoon, which we were not willing to pay. So we may call them again to see whether they're willing to do something, because it is, it's been a pandemic here, like not as many weddings and stuff. So yeah, it's not really a question of location, it's more a question of whether people are willing to let us in. Okay, so let me see if we have this, if it's all dry. I'm just looking to see if I've got any excess powder that didn't actually emboss. I think it's okay. All right, okay. Now the other thing, I'm just gonna mention this, is that when you have it, sometimes when you emboss, you get like a little bit of a curl to it. If you just take it back from the back side, you can actually straighten out that curl on a lot of these. Okay, so we've got that. All right, perfect. Okay, so we have our lovely butterflies sitting here, okay. I could actually, in fact, I am going to glue this right onto my card base just to make sure that they are out of the way. Okay, I do have a piece of Whisper White to go on the inside, sorry, Basic White to go on the inside. All these months later, I still forget sometimes. Oh, look at that, it's a little bit bigger than it is on this one. This one's a little bit, that's fine. Just get a little bit more butterflies. I am using the Stamp & Seal Plus tonight as opposed to the regular Stamp & Seal, and because it has been embossed, it has thicker paper, I want to make sure that it's not going to come off the card, so I'm going to make sure there's quite a bit on there. I don't generally put that much on there, but for something like this, I'm going to. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so I have that now on my card base. Okay, so the next step that I've got is I have the It's Your Day that is on a tag on the top of the cards. So I've got a piece of cardstock here. The sentiment, the phrase, It's Your Day, enjoy, comes from the Happiest of Birthday set. So I've used this on, ironically, I think it's on the other card. There's also the Happy Birthday a little bit late. You've got your Happy B-Day. I like this one because it is a birthday, but it's not. So if you have like a different kind of special occasion, you could use it for that as well. And we're just going to stamp it right on there in Black Memento ink. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, get that away. And now I'm going to quickly cut it. So I've had these out before. I'm using the TaylorMade dies, and I'm using the second largest one. So I guess it's kind of, yeah, it's second largest. So it'll fit nicely over top of that sentiment, and then I will just chop that out. We can start working on that ribbon. Okay, so, all right. This is like that television part thing. Okay. All right, almost done. I'm feeling a little squirrely tonight because I think I had too much caffeine today. Okay. So what happens when you stay up too late watching the Olympics. Okay, so we've got It's Your Day, enjoy it. And so I have my tag, and now I've got these ribbons. So we don't have a tremendous number of colored ribbons in the catalog right now that go with some of those color families. And I wanted something that would truly match the colors that are on this card. So I actually have, this is seam binding, it's white seam binding ribbon, and it accepts color from ink, whether it's be the markers or the ink pads, extremely well. So I'm going to cut 3 lengths of it, all about the identical length, but I'm not really concerned if it's a little bit off, just because I'll trim it down to size after. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. It's crinkly, which is kind of fun. We're going to lose a little bit of the crinkle when we color it, but that's okay. It just gives it a different dimension. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to put that aside. All right, and then I need Stampin' Blend markers because that's how I'm going to color these tonight. So I have 3 of them. I've got the dark Granny Apple Green, I've got the dark Bermuda Bay, and I've got the dark Blackberry Bliss because those are the colors in there. So, and I'm just going to hold on to it from one end. And I'm just going to run my marker all the way down. The ribbon is thin enough that the color will go through on the other side without you having to flip it over. So see, when I turn it over, you can't tell which side is the original and which side is the back. So, and I'm not going to worry about the extra little bit of white action. You know, maybe I'll do it just because it's here. There we go. There. Okay. Whoops. Just trying to make sure that I'm not getting ink all over myself. Begs me to just grab my take a pick tool. I have the pointy guy, not the stylus, the point. I like to call it the pointy guy, it's the piercer on the other end. So I'll just hold on to my ribbon with that. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to Blackberry Bliss color it all the way down. Come on. Sometimes the easiest way is still the best way. All right. Oh. Okay, Blackberry Bliss, come on. You're not quite as wet, I think, as my Bermuda Bay. There we go. Okay, good. All right, so we got some nice color on there. I'll get some more color on my hand while I do the other end. All right. And then last but certainly not least, let's put that over here. It dries really, because they're alcohol markers, they dry really, really quickly, so you're not going to have to worry about waiting for your ribbon to dry. Okay, and Granny Apple Green, this one. Get that through there. Okay. All right, excellent. Okay, so while I'm just going to let those, like, they're not really going to dry, but they're just going to sit there for a moment. And then I'm just going to go over, these are my Elegant Faceted Gems, and I'm just going to also color one of the small ones. So I've got a small Granny Apple Green. I've got a large Blackberry Bliss, because it's nice that you can color these, and I have a large Bermuda Bay. Okay, so I've got those there too. They're got a little bit of color on them. I'll pick those up in a moment and put those on the tag. Okay, so as you can see, there's like a hole in this tag right here. So I'm now going to take these ribbons and I'm going to just hold them together in my hand. And I'm going to put them through the hole. I am not going to tie them though. We're going to tie them up with some of the baker's twine. Okay, so let me just grab these and pull these through. See, this is why I wasn't so concerned about coloring the ends, because I knew that I had cut them a little bit longer. If I was like truly measuring, I probably would have cut them a bit shorter, but that's okay. Okay, so I've got my ribbon that's all sitting there. And then on this card, there is a white and a black piece of baker's twine. So we have these lovely baker's twine essential packs now. They give you 5 colors, which, yeah, it's nice because you don't get a huge amount, like just a ridiculous amount of any one color. And you've got 5 then you can work with. So I just cut a piece of white, piece of black, and I'm going to wind, I want to wind it around once so that you get, let's see, this is like the hardest part of this. So wind it around once. I'm going to tie it in a knot, assuming I can tie it in a knot. Oh, come on. These things, oh, for heaven's sakes, they're so easy to do when you're just sitting on your chair. Maybe it's because I'm not sitting down tonight. Okay, come on. Wind, wind, wind. No, yes. Here we are. Like I said, I think I had a little bit too much coffee tonight, which will not bode well. I mean, it's great for staying up late to watch the Olympics. It's not going to bode well for getting up, though, tomorrow morning and cutting the grass, because it won't stop raining. And the days that I don't work are the days when it rains. So it was beautiful yesterday, and I was at work. And tomorrow's supposed to be beautiful, and I'm supposed to be at work. So I got to get up first thing in the morning and chop my grass before I head into the store. Okay. All right. We should start a book club on my Wendy's Little Inklings page, because I have book recs. I've read a lot of interesting books of late. Okay. All right, so now we have your tag, It's Your Day, and I'm going to put the dimensionals onto the back of this, and I'm going to put it onto the card. And then once it's on the card, I will trim off the excess ribbons. Okay, I don't want to put one more in the center because I hate it when I have tags that kind of flop or don't want to stay upright, or when I push down on them, they kind of go down. All right, so just put this on just like that. There we go. So it's sitting in the middle, and I'm now going to just chop those ribbons off. So I'm not looking for like super long or super short. I'm not looking to kind of even them up or anything. I'm just wanting to make sure that they're cut on an angle so that they don't fray. Okay, so I have my ribbons. If I want to, I can just kind of mess around to make sure they're exactly the way I want them to be. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick those gems up that I colored just a second ago, and I'm just going to put them on my card, assuming, of course, I don't lose them. All right, so there's one, and there's 2. Yes, I know I could use my tool to do this. I'm one of these people who I'm very set in my ways when it comes to crafting certain things, and I'm so used to picking some of these things up with my fingers that I never really think to do it with any of our tools. Okay, there we go. Perfect. I'm going to add a little bit more color to these as well, just because I like them dark. And that's how you make this card. So it's really not difficult at all. Just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of ingenuity, and try not to color outside the lines, because I just put like a little too much green in there, and that's okay. I'll try and get it off, and if not, then I might just take it off and put a large one there instead. There are ways to fix everything. There's no mistakes. So just to kind of recap, we're using some of the Rainbow Glimmer Paper underneath, and you're going to emboss whatever it is you want. We did butterflies tonight from the Butterfly Brilliance stamp. So you're going to emboss those on top, and then you're going to go ahead, stamp your sentiment on your white, go ahead and die cut it with your tags. Don't forget that you can go ahead and you can color any of the ribbons. So our white ribbons are really good for coloring. You could also change the color of some of our in-color ribbons right now, the ones that are really thin. You could certainly add colors to those as well to change them up. I haven't tried that with one of these, and I just realized, look at this. I did it from opposite ends, so the darkest on opposite ends. There we go. The things you learn when you do things on the fly and a little bit quicker than you normally would. So you can certainly color those gems before you put them on, or even after you put them on. As I say, I do have a piece of white on the inside of this one. I will add a piece of white to the inside of this one as well, but certainly not difficult at all. Okay, so Celebration does start next week, and I have kind of been hinting a little bit about a sampler that I have going. So it's not glued completely, but here we go. I have the pieces here. So this is approximately what it's going to look like. Like I said, it's just not, the various elements are glued to their paper. I just haven't popped everything all up yet. So I just need to go ahead and finish this, because the reason I haven't glued it is that I want to take individual photos of each of the squares. And I also want to double check to make sure this is exactly the way I want it. We had a conversation online a couple nights ago, myself and 2 other demonstrators, and I was sending them pictures and they were giving their feedback. So there's still a couple things I may change on it. But I will put together the instructions. This will be available for sale in my store as a tutorial. And then if there's somebody who's local, like extremely local, and is looking for like a supply pack, then we can certainly look at that, because there's very little stamping on here. The only thing is this one here. So we can certainly do this. But as I say, this will be, when it is finished and popped up and ready to go in the frame, it will be on sale on my website. I'll make sure that you know where it is. And what I would really rather do is just sit down with you girls in person and make this, because we have a lot of fun when we make these. I just wish we could. So soon, very soon. Okay, if you have any questions or any comments about anything that we did in tonight's video, please go ahead and add them to the comments, or send me a quick email, wendy@wendyslittleinklings.com. And if you have any idea or know of any place where we could host our live event, then I will certainly accept any suggestions you have. I will contact Rachel after this as well to see if she's got some names. And I would really, really love to be able to do something in the fall. We're trying. We are trying. So, but like I say, if you've got anything, let me know. Okay, enjoy your evening. Thank you for stopping by, and we will see you soon. Have a good night.